A former student of mine pointed out this incredibly painful and poignant passage from the classic novel by Charles Dickens, A Christmas Carol, that we all know. The main character, Ebenezer Scrooge, is confronted by his fiancée, and she's about to break off their engagement. And this is a passage that he pointed out, and this is what the fiancée says to Ebenezer Scrooge. "You fear the world too much," she answered gently. "All your other hopes have merged into the hope of being beyond the chance of its sordid reproach. I have seen your noble aspirations fall off, one by one, until the master passion, gain, engrosses you." End quote. Scrooge's fiancée says to him, "You care too much about money. You care about money more than anything else." So she dumps him. And so we all know that greed is bad. Materialism is bad. The love of money is a root of all evil. So maybe there's nothing new here, but I think that there's something much more interesting going on here. And Dickens has some profound insights into human nature. So Scrooge wants to accumulate money and hoard it. And he does it not out of some desire to enjoy it or spend it well or be of benefit to others and the world, but to amass it and store it out of fear of the world. The money brings no joy to himself or anyone else around him. He doesn't build or create anything good or beautiful. He just stores it and holds it and hoards it. You would think that people want money so that they can spend it on cool stuff or use their money to gratify all their desires and passions and appetites. But Scrooge has all this money, and he lives this incredibly austere and kind of pathetic life. He lives like a monk who took a vow of poverty. For dinner, he just eats gruel. He lives in a cold, tiny apartment. So this is Dickens' interesting insight. For Ebenezer Scrooge, the root of greed is fear. It's not desire or appetite. He used money to build a giant wall to protect himself from the vicissitudes and uncertainties of the world. In his mind, the world is a dangerous and threatening place, and he thinks that money will keep him safe. It's also interesting that he'd rather be safe with a ton of money than risk his heart or perceived safety with love. His fiancée is saying to him, "Choose me and my love, or choose money. You can't have both." And so Ebenezer Scrooge chooses money. And I think Ebenezer Scrooge actually really loved his fiancée, but he was so fearful that he chose money. I mean, Scrooge is wrong, of course, and we all know that. The book makes it perfectly clear. But I think he's a very sympathetic character in many ways. He's not evil. So Scrooge is both a character and a caricature. And caricatures are over-the-top, gross exaggerations. They're not realistic, but in a sense they're true. They take some realistic qualities and they exaggerate them. So for example, a really good caricature will take someone with kind of a big nose and make it really, really big, for example, right? Someone with a big head and make it really, really big. So, and it's in a sense true, it just points out little parts and makes them really, really big so we can see it more clearly. So none of us is really like Scrooge, but there may be some elements of Scrooge in all of us. You would not be crazy to conclude, like Scrooge, the money will keep you safe in a dangerous, unpredictable, and threatening world. Just look around you right now. People who are really, really rich, I don't know, like Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates, seem to be doing kind of okay. Actually, they're actually making more money these days. And small business owners are really getting hammered. COVID does not seem to affect all of us in the same way. Money seems to insulate some, and the lack of money really makes a lot of us very vulnerable. So Scrooge isn't crazy in some sense. And so Scrooge chooses also money over love. Well, he makes the wrong choice, of course. But love is inherently risky. Scrooge is not wrong to fear love. In any real relationship, you are risking your heart. Because love is dangerous. You are making yourself vulnerable. I mean, the only way to guarantee that your heart will never be broken is to love no one. In a flashback to his youth, there's a scene where Scrooge is all alone at boarding school over Christmas. And everyone went home. And this is such a heartbreaking, sad part of the book. But Scrooge had to stay at school year after year over Christmas all alone, cold and lonely, because his family abandoned him. But in one joyful, beautiful scene, his sister comes and saves him. And she is someone who loves Scrooge. Scrooge knows he's loved. He's safe with her. And he loved his sister. But then she died. And Scrooge felt abandoned again. So maybe Scrooge thought, I loved my sister, but she died. So now I have a fiance. Who knows if she'll stick around? Maybe she'll run away from me. Maybe she'll die. Then I'll be alone again. But money, I can hold on to that. I will clutch onto my money with an iron fist, and it will not leave me. I can control it. It will keep me safe. Now, there's nothing wrong with having money. There's nothing wrong with making money. There's nothing wrong with actually wanting money. I'm certainly not telling you to go out and become impoverished, lose all your money. I'm not telling you that. But we would be mistaken if we think that money will save us. You can't trust in it. King David in the Bible took a census of all his fighting men, and that made God angry. There's nothing inherently sinful about taking a census. But King David used a census to make himself feel powerful, and he trusted his army for his security instead of God. And that lack of trust in God and trust in his mighty, huge army is what made God angry. I can imagine Scrooge, or someone like Scrooge, waking up in the middle of the night, feeling insecure, having a bad dream, feeling scared. And so Scrooge rushes over to a safe, and he compulsively counts all his money, gathers it up, looks at it, and counts it, and says, it's all there. Now I'm safe. I can sleep soundly. Ultimately, we are safe and secure because God takes care of us. We trust in God. And God is not a thing we hold on to and control. God is a relationship, and it's one that requires profound vulnerability, openness, and trust. All right? Merry Christmas, guys.